Hey everyone, it's Kit.Nicole, and yes, one more video. So I know I said in my last video that that was going to be my last video for the year, but then a couple of you asked for more stories, processing center stories, and technically I was supposed to be like flying up north this week, or actually today, to work on a project, but that ended up getting pushed to next month. So I'm here, and I'm still thinking about my time at the processing center. So I figured, yeah, let's tell some more stories, eh? I think the first one I want to touch on was like on my flight back home. It turns out I was sitting next to someone else that was at the processing center on different days than I was. So her name was Pam. She was there with her daughter, and it turns out they were both from Landmark, and the Landmark Shoebox Drive, which if you've been on my channel for a while, you would have there's like a couple, I think like 2021, 2022, I'd gone down there to do some interviews because they had a really unique setup for their drive. And I didn't talk with them the whole plane because I was actually editing my long processing center review video. But we were talking on our descent back home, and I asked like any interesting shoeboxes that they came across. They also came across some like toolbox shoeboxes, not the same as the ones that I processed, but a little different. And let's see, her daughter was saying that her daughter or her was saying that there was one shoebox that was literally a twin box. So it was a shoebox, but whoever packed it had packed it as like a boy and girl 5 to 9, and it was like literally duplicates of all the items, but of course like one more boyish, one more girlish. That was like a really unique idea. The only thing is like I would discourage from packing in that way. I would say make them 2 separate boxes, just because these then have to go into cartons, and each carton is marked with the gender and the age range, so it kind of makes it hard to like, oh, well, which carton do we pack it in? And when the distributing partners are requesting their boxes, it kind of makes a bit of an odd number. So really unique, but I would strongly suggest separating those out into their own separate boxes. But anyways, that was pretty cool. And her daughter, actually, I think this is either first or second year, I don't quite remember, being at the processing center, but they went together as a group with the church. And for all the years that church has been going there, for the first time, they've actually managed to process some of their own boxes. So that was pretty cool. Apparently, her daughter like processed 3 boxes that were from Landmark. So that was very interesting. And hi, Pam. It was very nice meeting with you. So let's see. Speaking of meeting with people, I did actually get to have a chat with the former mayor of Red Deer, Alberta. Yeah, that was like at the end of my shift, and just like because like was the person from out of town, our team lead was just like, hey, this girl's from Winnipeg. So we got chatting after, so that was a really good conversation. I'm not quite sure what her name was Tara. I'm not quite sure what her role is, but I did see her like walking around the processing center quite a bit, so that was very interesting. That was a cool meeting. In regards to like some stuff we had to pull out of boxes, there was a couple boxes that had a bunch of candy in it. It's like, sorry guys, that is a no-no. We have to remove candy. There were some boxes with that toothpaste in it that also had to get taken out. Only downside is like with the candy, those ones kind of showed up towards the end of our shift. And I remember like the guy across from me, instead of like taking some of the candy and dumping it in the inappropriate bin. He actually put some on top of the thing, and he was just like, I want to eat this so bad. And I'm like, no, I do too. And as far as I know, we cannot eat the candy that we remove from the bins. So, but I do recommend taking your own mints with you, because it's just like, your mouth does get kind of dry in the processing center, and sometimes like drinking water isn't quite enough. But yes, there was that. And also there was a package of goldfish crackers that we had to remove. It was just like one of those yeah, big package things that like, okay, well, that box needs filler. So those are like some of the more unique things we had to remove. Let's see, there was also a grimy plushie we had to take out, unfortunately. It was just like this really cute duck, and yeah, our team lead had just happened to walk by, and she's like, oh, yeah. Like, sorry guys, it's just like, this does look kind of grimy, so it's like, yeah, we had to remove it, unfortunately. So that's another thing with plush. Make sure they look clean and new. This is in particular, especially if you are like checking out the thrift stores, even some like from Dollarama and such, just because stuff falls on the floor, make sure you're cleaning the dust off. But yeah, especially if you're going through thrift stores, try to make sure you're getting the new looking plush, or that you're able to touch it up before it goes into a shoebox. So that was that. And there was one little fighter plane that we had to take out of a box. And the guys I was working with, they're like, oh, but it's so cool. It's like, it's a jet plane. I'm like, but it's war related. It needs to go. They're like, I know, but look at it, it's so cool. So yeah, those are just some of the things we had to remove. Thankfully though, there wasn't a lot that we had to take out. We didn't fill up our inappropriate bin at all, so that was good. Oh yeah, one other thing we had to remove. There was a remote control car that was broken. It looked obviously played with, so we had to take that out. And it's just like, oh, good. It's just like, this is a reminder that Operation Christmas Child, it is not a thrift drive. The goal is only one box per child, and you want to make sure it is the best thing that you are presenting. And if you want to do a bit of a Bible study on this, because it is relevant, I would say look up the sacrifices that they were supposed to do in the Old Testament. And in particular, I would suggest looking into the book of Malachi, just because, in a sense, these boxes that we are doing, yes, they're going to children, but you could kind of look at these boxes as these are an offering we're presenting to God. And so you want to make sure you're putting in the best items. So that's just like my little thing about that, but we'll move on. There was one odd box that we had. Now, on the OCC website, it does say that they accept all boxes. They do have a preferred size, but again, they will accept whatever box it comes in. And someone took it quite literally, and they didn't give like a shoebox. They didn't send a shoebox type box at all. It was actually kind of like an Amazon packaging box. It was like kind of tall, and it was square, and it's just like we had to figure out it was the best way to fold up the flaps, because we have to tape this thing. And it was wrapped up nicely. Thankfully, it wasn't whoever wrapped it, they made sure to not wrap it completely, but they wrapped up the flaps separately so we could still look inside, so that was great. But I know whoever was packing the cartons, he was having like kind of a rough time trying to figure out how to fit this box into the carton with all the other boxes that we were getting. That being said, we were, at least my time there, we were processing a lot of the standard OCC boxes compared to like non-standard boxes, but we did get sprinkles of those through. Let's see, backpacks. For my shift, we didn't come across any backpacks, but our team leader was saying it's just like if a backpack does come up, and it's like kind of like they packed a backpack instead of packed a box. It's like we were to try to fit everything and the backpack into a box. But I did see on my tour the next day, one table had like several backpacks that came through, and I guess they must have got like some approval, because when I finished my tour I did notice that they were now in a carton just as a backpack. So I guess I got some approval to leave it as is instead of packing it into a box. And who knows, it might have been for those cartons, they were just kind of like the right size as the way they were. I don't know, but it is preferably advised to try to fit everything into a box. I know backpacks are challenging, but it is doable. So, and that also means is like you could go with a slightly bigger box instead of a standard box, but I'm rambling now. That was another thing. Packing cartons. I didn't take, for my shit, I didn't touch the packing of the cartons. I did over here, the kind of like the way they were supposed to be packed. It was just kind of like, I think they're trying to get like 12 go boxes on the bottom and then all the other odd-shaped boxes on top. So that way they could better guarantee the number of boxes in a carton. So that was interesting. And oh yeah, there was another thing that came up. There was the box that came through that was completely wrapped. It's like, oh great, a second box that has to be undone. And when one of my teammates like was pulling the wrapping paper off, it turned out this was actually one complete toy. So it was just like, yeah, it was a toy in its own packaging. And unfortunately, and it was actually cool, like a pretty large toy. I'm not quite sure what happened to it. I think that ended up going to Gifts in Kind. But yeah, that was like, it was kind of like, oops, someone sent this to the wrong drive. It did have a label on it though, but I guess they didn't quite understand what how OCC works. We're not just a toy drive. We're doing gift packages essentially. So yeah, that was that was like kind of like one of the interesting things that we saw. In terms of filler, and I'm looking down because that's where I got my notes just to keep my head straight. So in terms of filler, I think some things I can suggest. If you wanted to send in filler, it would be like Happy Meal toys. Of course, it's like brand new. They don't have to, or yeah, like in the packaging, or just it's like if your child's very gentle, they like, oh, play with it a little bit, and now they're bored. They haven't touched it since. As long as it doesn't look like it's being played with. I think Happy Meal toys, those would be good. I would like to have seen some things like that. I think things like underwear, make like little underwear kits, that would have been good to send. There were some socks that did come in our filler bins, but then it was kind of hard because the socks were a little bit balled up to stay together. I'm like, I'm not sure which size this is. So I would suggest if you're sending in socks or underwear, kind of put like some sizing just so it's easier on the processing. But things like that, if you're sending clothes, I would suggest sending them with the tag, just especially with the sizing information, because that helps sorting them into the boxes, because we are working quite quickly. And the clothing that we saw, it's like they were kind of like rolled up and rubber banded together. So I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of guessing. I think it should go in this box. So that hygiene packs would have also been good. There was like some soap filler and I think a few toothbrushes that I saw, but not a lot of hygiene items when I was there. So if you're looking at packing filler, those are some suggestions. And then there's like a few other obvious suggestions like school kits or plushies. Those are always good to send. But that's just some things I was thinking about. It also kind of reminds me, it's like back at the end of August, there was an opportunity for me to like get a whole bunch of like donations. And I'd gone on the day, and I was told to come back another day because this place had an extension, because like the donations were because they're closing. And I picked up like a few little things. They let me take it anyways because it was just a small basket. And I went back at the next appointed day, and they were already closed. And I'm like, not sure what happened. Did their extension get canceled or what? But I felt upset, and I still kind of felt upset until this Sunday, because it was just like, wow, like after my experience there, it's just like now I kind of get why I was feeling so upset, because a lot of the stuff should have been going to the center, and that could have helped fill a whole bunch of half-filled boxes. But yeah, this Sunday I finally came to peace with that. I'm like, okay, I get it now. But yeah, now I want to pack more filler for next year, so I have to kind of mentally get myself ready for that. Oh yeah, one other thing that I noticed. So I think it was like when I was waiting for the tour at the Calgary Center. Like when you come in, they do have like a little table set up. Like if you've brought in like some shoe boxes, like ahead of your shift, or you could even bring like some filler that wasn't like if you had a couple bags of filler, instead of like driving around to the back to drop it off, it's just like walk in, drop it off. There were some forms to fill out. I did kind of like glance at like one of the blank gifts in kind forms that was on the table, and what was kind of really interesting was like, yeah, you kind of like marked off what type of gift you're dropping off, but the most interesting thing I saw on that sheet was they actually had listed like a sewing machine and a serger. So I guess it's like I'm trying to like figure that out. I'm guessing like if Smergeon's Purse is getting like a lot of fabric donations, maybe they have some people aside like, hey, like in the gifts in kind area, like, hey, if you want to like sew these like basic patterns, like make plush or like dresses or things like that, there you go. So it's like they do accept donations of sewing machines and sergers if I guess you're not using yours anymore. That was pretty cool. And yeah, we're getting close to 20 minutes here. So I guess just to summarize how I'm feeling, because it's been like about a week and a half since I was at the processing center. I'm not sure how to describe it. To be honest, I kind of feel immersed now. It's one thing to have been like packing shoe boxes for the last several years and just like kind of being like a little OCC obsessed, but I don't know. It's just like I feel like so much more immersed in this. It's just like you kind of want to just like stay in this atmosphere or whatever. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. Next year is definitely going to be interesting. I do have some plans for the channel, just like a little bit beyond just like the boxings and hauls. I don't know how I'm going to do my shopping next year, because I'm like, I did most of it this past summer, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. It's kind of like, especially like the last few months, just in like some discussion with people close to me, it's like this needs to take a little bit more of a community focus. So I'll have to try to look up some connections that I can make. And also kind of like one of the interesting things was like when I was talking to Tara, is like before we parted ways, she was kind of mentioned something like, oh, you should like apply for a job here. And I think it was like the next evening at the hotel, I had to ask like the front desk clerk to unlock the pool for me because my card wasn't working. As we were like walking down the hall chatting, it's like he kind of asked like, oh, so you're gonna go work over there? I'm like, I don't know. So like, I don't know, should I? I did check online. There's like no active. Oh, there's a couple active postings for OCC, but I don't have the experience for those, simply put. So we'll see what happens. I don't know where this is going to go. Where God leads, that's where we'll go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. I think for like Canada, US, this is kind of like the last week of processing. So if you live near a processing center and you want to drop off more filler, I greatly encourage it. Don't forget to pray for your boxes. Also, don't forget, if you haven't yet, to make your shipping donation, because that would be good to have in before the end of the year, especially if you want your tax receipt. And I think that's it. I'm trying to take a break from OCC. I'm not yet. I'm actually in the process of counting my stash, so I'm mentally prepared for next year. But yeah, it's been an interesting year. Thank you guys for coming along, and we will see you guys next year. Have a Merry Christmas and happy shoeboxing. Bye.